It's just kind of who I am. I want to pour into my team as much as possible, and I'm pretty in tune with my body. I can read a room pretty well, and so when I see we're lacking a little bit, you got to step up. But if we're good, you're just there to encourage and give people.
What if I told you that a single rookie's paycheck, reportedly nearing an astonishing $50 million, was enough to ignite a civil war inside a professional sports league? This isn't just about money or a record-shattering deal. It's about a storm of jealousy, respect, and long-simmering resentment erupting from the overlooked corners of the WNBA. Now that tension is spilling into public view, raw and undeniable, the league stands at a breaking point, a widening divide between the veterans who laid the foundation and the new superstar credited with finishing the skyscraper. At the center of the quake-shaking women's basketball is one name, Caitlin Clark. Yet the outrage from veterans, including the fierce voice of Sophie Cunningham, runs deeper and more personal than outsiders realize. This is no longer just a game. It's a battle for the league's soul, a fight for legacy, and a desperate struggle to avoid being forgotten. The story begins with a number so colossal it feels mythical for any rookie, especially in a league long defined by modest pay. Rumors swirl around a $50 million deal, an amount so staggering it eclipses the career earnings of nearly every player who came before, turning admiration into tension and transforming quiet frustration into a thunder that can no longer be ignored. But the truth is even more layered, and for many veterans, more infuriating than the headlines suggest. The most publicized pillar of Clark's financial empire is her groundbreaking, earth-shaking deal with Nike, a staggering $28 million contract spanning 8 years. On its own, the agreement is historic, a declaration from the world's most powerful sportswear brand that she is more than an athlete. It includes her own signature shoe, an honor historically reserved for icons like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant. For a rookie to receive that distinction before playing a single professional game sent shockwaves through the industry, signaling that Nike wasn't merely signing a player, it was investing in a cultural phenomenon. And that was only the opening move in a corporate bidding war. Gatorade, synonymous with athletic greatness, secured a lucrative multi-year partnership. State Farm made her one of its flagship faces alongside Patrick Mahomes. Panini locked in an exclusive memorabilia deal, turning her trading cards into some of the most coveted in the world. Add these blue-chip endorsements together and the lifetime value doesn't just approach $50 million. It sails past it, creating a financial titan before she ever scores a single professional point. This isn't a paycheck. It's a coronation, a declaration from corporate America that Caitlin Clark is bigger, more marketable, and more valuable than the league she plays in. While boardrooms and fans celebrated a new era of visibility, many players who spent years bleeding and sweating to build the WNBA watched through gritted teeth. To them, this unprecedented wealth didn't feel like progress. It felt like a personal and professional slight. A silent storm of resentment began to gather, and soon it found a loud, unapologetic voice in Sophie Cunningham, the tough, blue-collar forward for the Phoenix Mercury. Cunningham built her career on grit and physicality that rarely make highlight reels but earn locker room respect. She represents the old guard, a grinder, an enforcer, a player who fought for every minute on the court. So when the media inevitably asked about the rookie phenom dominating every headline, she didn't hide behind cliches or polite deflections. She spoke with the raw honesty of someone who refuses to be forgotten. What many fans across the United States felt in that moment was not just tension, but a chill, because in what sounded like a direct and unflinching warning to Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham made it unmistakably clear that the veterans of the WNBA were not rolling out a red carpet for anyone, no matter how bright the spotlight. She spoke bluntly about the league's bruising physicality, insisting the college game could never prepare Clark for what was coming, and her tone wasn't welcoming. It was defiant, protective, almost territorial. To many watching, her words painted a league of relentless competitors ready to test, rattle, and perhaps even humble the new golden face of women's basketball. The media, always hungry for friction, instantly spun her comments as a jealous outburst from a lesser-known player clinging to relevance. But for longtime fans who have followed the league through empty arenas and late-night broadcasts, dismissing her words as envy felt like missing the entire story. Cunningham wasn't speaking alone. She was echoing the unspoken frustration of countless veterans who believed their years of sacrifice, injuries, cross-country flights, and second jobs overseas were being erased by a blinding fixation on one rookie. Her message felt less like bitterness and more like a flare in the night sky, a signal to Clark and the nation that respect in this league is not granted by endorsement deals or viral highlights, but earned through bruises, rivalries, and battles fought possession by possession. And what unfolded in the weeks that followed made it clear this wasn't commentary. It was a promise. To understand what pundits casually labeled a tantrum, fans had to look behind the glossy broadcasts and see the harsh reality WNBA players endured long before Clark's arrival. For decades, these elite athletes flew commercial, squeezing their tall frames into cramped seats before stepping off planes to perform at the highest level within hours. Their salaries were so low that even MVPs and champions spent off-seasons playing in Russia, China, and Turkey, living out of suitcases thousands of miles from family just to secure financial stability. They weren't just athletes. They were workers in a global grind, fighting for inches of newspaper space dominated by men's sports and fleeting highlight clips that often ignored playoff heroics. They built the league brick by brick with minimal pay, little recognition, and a public that too often questioned their worth. Then, almost overnight, Clark arrived and seemed to receive everything they had fought for: massive endorsements, non-stop media attention, charter flights they had begged for, before proving herself on a professional court. So when Cunningham spoke, it wasn't merely about talent or fame. It was a visceral response to a deep, painful sense of injustice. It was the raw emotion of watching a newcomer celebrated for a house she didn't build while its architects faded into the background. It was a cry for recognition, a plea to fans nationwide. Remember us, we made this possible. That feeling of invisibility in their own league became the fuel for a fire threatening to consume the season. Cunningham may have struck the match, but the entire league felt like a powder keg waiting for a spark, and her words reflected not jealousy, but a chilling consensus among veterans. Even before Clark's first preseason game, legend Diana Taurasi went on national television with a warning that now echoes ominously in fans' ears: reality is coming. She warned that the college game was a fantasy compared to the pros, where grown women, faster, stronger, and smarter, would hunt weaknesses without mercy, and to many U.S. fans, it felt like an undisguised message that Caitlin Clark's record-shattering college career meant nothing in this unforgiving arena. But the warnings didn't stay verbal for long. They turned physical in a way that rattled the entire sports world. During a matchup with the Chicago Sky, Chindy Carter delivered a blindside hip check while Clark waited for an inbound pass, a cheap shot so blatant it sent shockwaves through arenas and living rooms alike. It was ruled a flagrant foul, an act that had nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with sending a message, and Carter offered no apology, later admitting the hit was personal, fueled by anger over the narrative that Clark alone was drawing eyes to the league. Cameras then caught teammate Angel Reese leaping from the bench in approval, a jarring visual that seemed to confirm the uglier sentiment many feared. In that moment, an uncomfortable truth surfaced. A significant faction of veterans resented Clark's fame so deeply they were willing to weaponize physical intimidation. Suddenly, Sophie Cunningham's earlier words no longer sounded like a tantrum. They felt like a warning shot in a physical war unfolding on hardwood across America, a coordinated effort to greet the rookie not with handshakes, but with bruises. The most maddening irony in this conflict is the undeniable force of what fans now call the Caitlin Clark effect. Her arrival has ignited an economic surge for the WNBA that feels nothing short of miraculous. Arenas are selling out nationwide, not only in Indiana but in every city she visits, with teams moving games to larger NBA venues to handle unprecedented demand, while television ratings shatter records, in some cases soaring more than 200%. Indiana Fever games now outdraw established men's leagues like Major League Baseball and the NHL, a seismic shift that has delivered life-changing benefits to every player, including those who openly resent her. Under mounting revenue and media pressure, the league finally approved full-time charter flights, a luxury veterans had demanded for over a decade, and with surging viewership comes greater TV revenue, higher salaries, improved facilities, and larger endorsement opportunities for all. In essence, Clark is the rising tide lifting every boat, but it is a painful double-edged sword. While the financial gains are undeniable, the cultural cost has been the near erasure of other stars, as media coverage fixates almost entirely on Clark. Pre-game shows, post-game analysis, and social media debates orbit her every move. Established superstars and MVPs like Aya Wilson and Breanna Stewart are reduced to supporting roles in their own league story, often fielding more questions about Clark than their own dominance, creating a toxic psychological strain where players profit from her presence while resenting the shadow she casts over their careers. They are earning more, yet feeling invisible. That resentment has not remained confined to locker rooms or cryptic interviews. It has spilled onto the court in brutally physical ways. From the moment Clark steps on the floor, she faces a level of contact that goes far beyond a typical rookie welcome. Relentless hits on drives, aggressive bodying 30 feet from the ball, bone-jarring screens designed to punish rather than free teammates, defenders grabbing jerseys, holding arms, and shoving with a severity veteran commentators call unprecedented. Even more troubling is how often these plays go uncalled, whether from unconscious bias or an unspoken mandate to let veterans police the game, creating a no-call culture that emboldens opponents to push physicality to the edge without consequence. This is no longer just a defensive scheme to slow a scorer. It feels, to many watching, like a coordinated campaign of intimidation. Behind the thin veil of tough defense, many veterans are delivering a physical message their words alone could never carry, trying to prove through force that Caitlin Clark, the media darling with the perfect narrative, cannot endure the grit and grind of the professional game they have long ruled. Every bump, every shove, every uncalled foul becomes a statement. Every bruise, a warning etched into hardwood. To understand the raw nerve her meteoric endorsement money has struck, fans across the United States have to confront the staggering disparity between her off-court earnings and her official WNBA salary. As the #1 draft pick, Clark's rookie contract pays roughly $76,000 a year, less than many first-year teachers or firefighters, while her Nike deal alone averages $3.5 million annually. For every dollar she earns playing basketball, she makes nearly 50 from sponsors, with total endorsements estimated at more than 500 times her league salary. Now compare that to the veterans delivering the punishment. Sophie Cunningham, after 5 grueling seasons, earns around $150,000, while even MVPs and champions on max contracts top out near $250,000. That means Clark, the rookie, can earn more from a single Gatorade campaign than the league's most decorated veterans make in an entire season of physically punishing, world-class work. This isn't just a pay gap, it's a different financial stratosphere, the molten core of the conflict. The frustration isn't about her $76,000 salary, it's about the brutal, market-driven reality that her fame and brand make years of performance, leadership, and championships feel invisible by comparison, validating a terrifying truth in this new era. Narrative can outweigh the game itself. This bitter clash is far more than rookie hazing. It is a defining moment, a crucible that could forge the league into something stronger and more equitable or expose fractures deep enough to tear it apart. It reveals the painful transition from a niche sport fighting for survival to a mainstream force wrestling with fame, money, and media saturation. The resentment, often expressed through harsh words and hard fouls, is rooted in a heartbreaking fear of being left behind by the very league these women built, while Clark represents a future so bright it risks blinding the world to past sacrifices. The ultimate question is not whether she can survive the physical onslaught or whether veterans will accept her. It is whether the league itself can manage explosive growth without imploding. Will this internal war over respect, money, and recognition poison locker rooms and alienate the millions of new fans it needs? Or is this brutal friction the force required to polish a long-overlooked diamond? The battle for the soul of the WNBA is unfolding right now, on and off the court, and its outcome may shape the future of women's sports for a generation to come.